everybody. Welcome to the Talking Disney Classics podcast. And this is a show where we talk about the films from the Disney animated canon from Walt Disney Animated Studios. And we let the random number generator tell us which one we're going to talk about. And this month we are talking about The Emperor's New Groove. It's very exciting.
Booyah!
Yes. And this is the 40th animated film from Walt Disney Animated Pictures. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford is here.
Hey, how's it going?
And today we have special guest. Jennifer Chandler is here, big fan of this movie. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I love this movie. So yeah. I'm honored.
I think you're I think this is the first time or maybe second time you've come on Rachel's reviews. So why don't you introduce yourself for those who might not know you?
My name is Jennifer Chandler. I'm married to Sean Chandler of Sean Chandler Talks About, and that's how I got to meet Rachel. And just through random conversations, we realized how many movies and things that we both shared, fandom, love. And so that's how I got here.
Yeah. And you've been on Hallmarky's podcast several times.
Yes,
so we've had a lot of fun. Especially we did our All the Rest preview last Christmas, and that was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
With my friend Ryan, and we got to preview Letters to Satan Claus.
Oh my word.
Really so that's a really fun episode if you want to check that out. But yeah,
and I would check that out.
Yes, it was really fun. But I was just on Sean Chandler. Did I say Chandler?
Yes.
I was just on
channel.
I can't talk anymore. I was just on Sean's channel talking 101 Dalmatians, so that was way fun. And we ranked all 5. Yes, there's 5 101 Dalmatians movies. And so check that out as well. I'll have a link for that in the description. And let's talk Emperor's New Groove. This came out in 2000. And Stanford, do you remember when you first saw this movie?
I do. I saw it on opening weekend, and I don't. Sometimes I remember the theater, particularly if it's the Villa, Rachel. Jennifer, there's this classic movie palace that used to be in Salt Lake City called the Villa Theater. It used to play most Disney movies. And Rachel and I have lots of fond memories. Although, who knows if we were ever there at the same time. But, still.
Yeah.
But I don't remember seeing it there. But I remember seeing it and just laughing, thinking it was just so funny.
Yeah. I have kind of a funny circumstance of seeing this movie. So this came out in 2000 when I was in college. And I thought it sounded so stupid. I was like, he turns into a llama? That sounds so dumb. And so I was just not about it. I wasn't going to see it. But I was taking a class from Professor David Bone at BYU. And he had us do a lot of in-community projects. It was a philosophy class. And he had us work with all different kinds of like real life kind of situations. And one of the things, and the one that I became the most involved in, was working with the Lost Boys of Sudan. And I actually ended up TAing for him. And so I worked with them for for 2 whole years instead of just the 1 year or the 1 semester that I was taking the class. And the Lost Boys of Sudan were a group of refugees that were brought over and from Sudan, and they were only given like a finite amount of resources when they were brought over. And so we, as a class, tried to help them to get started and get education and whatever. And they were so great. They were just so positive and wonderful. And they were doing I forget what it was called. It was something like a fall party thing. And randomly they had at the movies to go along. They had a little cinema at BYU. And they had this movie playing. And so I watched this movie with the Lost Boys of Sudan.
Wow, they're on the BYU campus.
At the BYU campus.
Was it in the Varsity Theater?
Yes, that's what it's called. Yeah, the Varsity Theater. I watched The Emperor's New Groove at the Varsity Theater with the Lost Boys of Sudan.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And they were laughing and I was cracking up. And I was just, this movie was actually really good and really funny. And I was so shocked that it was good because I thought it looked so stupid. So yeah, that was my weird experience watching this movie. But yeah, I remember we made them pumpkin pie because they were gonna try their first Thanksgiving in the States, and they thought it was terrible. They hated it. Anyway, it was very, very fun. I have very fond memories of that. But Jennifer, what about you? Do you remember your first time seeing it?
I do. And, it's funny because I don't think I remember ever seeing any press for it. I don't remember it being promoted because if I had seen the preview, I'd be like, same as you, Rachel. Like, what? He turns into a llama? That's ridiculous. But some friends and I were on our way to Six Flags, which is like a theme park in Texas. And we got in this humongous van. Our friend's mom was driving and we were all like in the back. And I don't know how much of like the details that I remember are accurate, but I remember a lot of green carpet and wood paneling and like this huge van with VCR. And so we watched it on the way to Dallas to go to this theme park, and we were dying laughing. It was the funniest movie I could remember seeing. I don't want to say ever, but it was such a breath of fresh air, such a pleasant surprise because I didn't really know what to expect. And it's obviously tied in with a bunch of fond memories of us on this trip. And then we got to the hotel the night before and we were like quoting the movie back and forth. And to this day, some of my friends and I will still quote this to each other from that trip. And it's just super fun mememories. It was hilarious.
So fun.
And the big green van watching Emperor's New Groove. It was a good time. I really now I have to ask if their carpet was green because I just remember so much green, and I don't know if it's real or not.
This would be a good car movie. I feel like
it was so fun. It was
absolutely.
So fun.
With
it was
friends,
just stupid fun. I don't remember why we were going, but we had a blast, and this movie was the beginning of the trip, and it just kicked it off on the right foot. We had so much fun.
It's really interesting because it did not start out as a funny movie. It started out as something along the lines of Lion King. Right. You had Roger Allers, director of Lion King, originally as the director, and it was Kingdom of the Sun. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Stanford? Do you think we missed out on not getting Kingdom of the Sun?
Well, I have mixed feelings, and I know we'll be exploring this a bit.
Yeah.
Not that I totally love the movie that we got. I wouldn't take that back at all. But the Kingdom of the Sun sounded really cool. Or I guess maybe what was most cool to me is that they brought in Sting to write the music, and that's the thing. I think if anything, I want to see like the Sting version. You know what I mean? Like the movie that has the most, or the version, or the cut, or the draft, or whatever that has all the Sting songs that he wrote. For it. Some of the Sting music, thankfully, made it into the the Emperor's New Groove that we know and that we love.
Just the one song, but you can, I think, get the soundtrack.
Yeah, so the soundtrack has a couple of others, but not all of them. Not all the ones that, at least that I've heard about. And so anyway, I can't say that I'm sad that it wasn't like we didn't get another kind of Lion King, because don't get me wrong, I love the Lion King, but I think that they went in a comedic direction was really great. But it's that music that I really wish.
Yeah.
Personally, that's the thing for me. I wish.
Well, and it's so weird because they had to convince Sting to participate in the project to begin with, and the only reason he agreed was that his wife was going to be making a documentary about the making of the movie.
Now, have you seen the documentary?
I watched it today. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! See, now you're gonna have to talk me into this because I haven't seen it, because I just know that they just hear it as the movie that Disney doesn't want you to see, and maybe that should have been the thing that just pushed me over the edge to watch it anyway. But all these years, I haven't watched it.
You're such a good soldier, Stanford.
Well, I'm just a crazed devoted fan, but maybe I need to What did you think of it? I mean, was it?
I saw it last time I reviewed the canon, so it's been a while, but yeah, it's a little bit boring, I'm not gonna lie, but it is interesting too, and just to see what happened, and you gotta feel sorry for him that he worked so hard on all these songs.
Yeah, it just seemed to me that Sting really got shafted with this project.
I think so. I had no idea. Like, I knew and loved the movie. That was about the extent of my knowledge. And then Rachel, you'd asked on Twitter, what does everybody think about it? And there were a couple comments where people were saying stuff like, you can tell that it was stop and start and that they had to change everything really drastically. And there was just enough that I was like, what are they talking about? Like, what do you mean the stop and start? What changed so drastically? So I just fell into a huge rabbit hole the last 24 hours, like diving deep into the Sting conspiracy and his wife's documentary and Disney, like just gushing it. And I will say that the whole concept of it all was way more interesting, unfortunately, than the documentary itself.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not as enticing. The documentary isn't as spicy as the story itself. There's a lot of things that I would want to know that there aren't in there. And I don't know if it's, where she was going with the documentary itself, or if Disney was, choking her to death, making sure it didn't get any. But it was not as interesting. It was interesting to see the parts that they did show, and I definitely got the same feeling that Sting just kind of got shafted, that he wanted to basically have his own version of the Lion King, and it just changed, and then it changed, and then it changed. And I mean, every time they had like a powwow at his house, I just hurt for him. It was like, oh no, which song is getting trashed now?
Oh yeah.
But now, in fairness, it's not uncommon that animated films do have pretty major overhauls. I mean, you look at the original Toy Story, that was basically completely redone after initial storyboards were rejected because Woody was too mean.
He's still really mean.
they completely changed Frozen. Of course, we know that once they had Let It Go. They changed Zootopia a lot. That was changed. There's just a ton of animated films. I mean, most animated films have some pretty major overhauls as things go through the process, because it takes a long time to make an animated film. It takes,
and I think that's what was interesting about this one, because they acknowledged that this is part of the process and it changes a lot and whatever, but this one was unusually taxing, and there was so much change. And then at some point they like split the team and then pitted them against each other, and it was this whole to-do.
And then Roger Allers left the project entirely, right? And
Yeah, I read the things I read were way more interesting, unfortunately, like I said, than the documentary itself.
Than the actual documentary.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be like worth it to watch it and just get it off your to-do list, or if it's better to just imagine the documentary in your head and enjoy it, because I was a little disappointed.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's pretty dry.
It is pretty dry. I feel frankly kind of bad for Mark Dindal though, because he, I think, did a great job with Cats Don't Dance. That is very underrated animated film with great songs. And he directed that. And then this, which is all, messy as far as directing and everything, but pulled out a great movie. And then he hasn't done anything else since Chicken Little. And I just feel like he should not be blamed for that. That was their first CG animated film. And
the kids love that movie.
they love it.
We have to watch it way more times than anyone should.
Oh no, we still haven't reviewed it for this podcast.
The random number generator has been merciful.
Like we're down to the final 6 movies, and we still haven't finished yet. But I don't know. I feel kind of bad for the guy because I just feel like he's had 3 messy, as far as the production kind of movies, but 2 that turned out really good, and 1 that nobody will forgive him for, which doesn't feel fair to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting story. But let's dive in. So we start out getting introduced to Cusco, and we get the Perfect World song as our introduction with Tom Jones. And what do you think of that, Stanford?
Oh, I love it. I think I love how the movie starts, and I love the music, and I think we got again. Thankfully, at least we got, I think, a really great song from Sting. Wonderful instrumentation throughout the whole thing, if I'm saying that word right. And just so funny. I mean, by the time they get to the scene where they're doing the river dance, that line dancing, that's what I knew. I think I just knew instantly. I knew I'm gonna love this movie. I mean, this is just so funny. So and also so visually striking too. I mean, instantly, you can tell you're watching a different style of animated film. I was just so happy to see something so different, and it almost kind of shocking, like it was a Disney film.
Yeah, it does have a bit of a Warner Brothers feel to it. In the
instantly, too. I mean, it's not like it slowly reveals itself. You're just thrown into it in the first frame, I think.
Yeah. What do you think of this intro, Jennifer?
I mean, there's nothing about this film I don't like. I'm gonna be probably like the worst reviewer of this movie, because I'm just like, I love it. It's interesting. The design is so cool. Like y'all said, it's different. He's so unlikable, and that's so almost charming. It doesn't make any sense. Like you want to like your protagonist, and he's the worst, and somehow it's the best.
I was going to ask you about that, because in his ranking, Sean said that was a struggle for him, was just how unlikable he was.
Which I totally understand, but the humor that's just woven throughout this whole thing is so brilliant, and they're not making him out to be better than he is. They're showing him exactly as he is, and you don't have to like him, but you can definitely think he's hilarious. And I was in my reading, I read something about David Spade kind of at the very beginning, like, what kind of a vibe are you looking for? What kind of a voice? And they said something like, just do your normal nasally obnoxious voice. And I was like, that hurts my soul. I mean, I'm sure David Spade doesn't care, because he seems to have a pretty thick skin, but I just think I would die a little on the inside. They're like, do your normal nasally obnoxious thing. Just go for that.
Funny. Yeah. I mean, I think, first of all, they show him being humbled at the beginning. You see him at the low point, right?
It is the absolute low point.
And so there's going to be an arc, and it's kind of, I don't know, like many fables, where the hero starts out kind of arrogant and gets humbled by the end and learns his lesson. And so I don't have a problem with it personally, because again, you have an arc, character arc. He grows and changes and redeems himself, I think, by the end.
About the character arc. Yeah,
all about the character arc. It's like people who claim...
It's just so funny, even before that.
Yeah. It's like people who complain about Luke Skywalker being annoying at the beginning. I'm like, character arcs, people.
What is it? I need another power converter. You say that all the time around the house. We just randomly whine it.
Grow and change. I do think that nowadays you would have, since the movie is set in Peru, you would have Latinx voice actors voicing the characters.
Right. That for sure. Yeah.
That was
That's
one of
something
the things that
different.
Sting said at the end of the documentary that I thought was or towards the end of the documentary that I thought was most interesting, was very much a commentary on Disney's practices. And like, he was really excited that they were taking other world cultures and bringing them in, but he felt like, and I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but he felt like they brought in the world cultures, mashed it all together, and out came a hamburger. And he said, that's not what I wanted to be a part of. That's not what, I don't think that's what they wanted to do. It's just that machine kind of is set and doing that. So I think you're right. I think if it was made today, there'd be a lot more authentic components to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at something like Raya in The Last Dragon, all the voice actors are all Southeast Asian descent, and yeah, I mean, I think that's good, and shows growth, and
even Moana, I think as well as they worked so close, Disney worked so closely with cultural representatives and and all other consultants that they were working, I think, closely with on it, with a real sensitivity thing, which was not was not in practice.
Yeah, they're keeping Lin-Manuel Miranda very busy these days.
Exactly.
I bet he sleeps in pajamas made out of money.
It's like I was thinking there's got to be other Latino composers who are like, "Come to me, please."
Yeah.
Don't only use Lin. but yeah, so it starts out with Pacha coming and trying to talk to Cusco. He's been requested there because Cusco wants to know the best lighting for his summer house, Cuscotopia. And he's like, that's the only reason you called me all the way here. And he says, how can you make me and my family and all the area all have to leave just for your house? And he's upset. And so that's the beginning. And that's where you get kind of the unlikable Cusco. But then you also have Yzma, and she's plotting to take the throne by poisoning Cusco. And I love Yzma. I think she is so hilarious. And she says that then Kronk, and he says that he's living proof dinosaurs once run the earth.
She is one of the most spectacular characters ever to exist.
Absolutely. And, I'm not trying to defend not being culturally sensitive,
Yeah.
Definitely. But, I mean, that's what makes this movie so funny is this cast is so great. David Spade, he's just being himself. He's just being his
regular name.
That's what's funny about him,
Well, and I was going to ask you, I don't know what it's called. It's not really a mockumentary, but they've got that weird thing going on in this movie where like Yzma's talking and it zones her out, and then you're inside Cusco's head, and he's like, how long has she been talking? How long has that been there? And he's like zooming in on all her wrinkles and the food in her teeth and
the stuff in her teeth, and
such a refreshing, bizarre perspective to watch a movie.
Yeah. It's like, Cusco is the narrator, but. Yeah, and then we get all that hilarious, when he goes into that whiteboard thing.
Yes. It's so good.
And
it's just, anyway.
Yeah, and Kronk with the angel and the devil is absolutely hilarious.
I mean,
perfectly cast. Everyone is perfectly cast.
Yeah, they are. They're perfect, and yeah.
And I feel like Patrick Warburton, he must have done some other stuff before this, but I feel like this was where he really became a voice actor legend.
Yeah, he was in Seinfeld. And
see, that's where I knew him from, was Seinfeld.
Yeah, while they were talking about the character, someone said, oh, this is him. And they're like, it's who? Well, the guy from Seinfeld. And that's how they brought him in. And even that, though, he took to such a totally different
for
level.
Voice acting, I mean, now he's like one of the greats, I think,
so
as a voice actor. He's so funny.
Yeah, agreed.
And Eartha Kitt as Yzma, legend.
Eartha Kitt. she just delivers, you know? Oh, she's funny.
Have you watched any of the footage of her making the movie, like her doing the voice acting? Like it's ridiculous. There is so much character in that one human being.
Oh, I know, right? So expressive.
So funny. And in the opening scenes, it has one of my favorite jokes of all of Disney. Maybe my favorite. I just think it's so funny. Is when she says, "Wrong lever." What do we even do that lever?
When they're going to the secret lab.
Yeah. Wrong lever. I love that joke.
I do too.
So funny.
My favorite is the flea series. Like she's like, I'll turn him into a flea, a harmless little flea, and then I'll put that flea in a box, and then I'll mail that box to myself. And when it gets there, I'll smash it with a hammer. And it's the best. It's like this whole movie is like that. Like I could just keep going. It's just every scene, and I go, oh no, wait, that's my favorite. Oh no. The next part's my favorite. No, the next part's my favorite. I love it all.
Me too. I'm with you, Jennifer. I was thinking that with the rewatch too. It was like, oh yeah, I love this so much, and then the next thing comes up that I love. Like, oh yeah,
I love when after he gets turned into a llama, and there's the whole thing with the demon llama. I also love. I'm not sure how you pronounce your Chicha, Pacha's wife.
Yeah.
I kind of love the fact that she's pregnant and awesome.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, Wendy Malick, right? Is that what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, she's good.
I can't think of any other children's movie that has such a like kick butt awesome pregnant woman.
And so realistic. Like she just doesn't take any crap. She doesn't like you can't pull anything over on her.
Yeah.
She's totally aware of everything going on. Like very warm and caring and nurturing, but also like you're not pulling the wool over my eyes.
Right. It's just like you don't mess with this mom, you know, and it's such a great character, and again, just another great voice and vocal performance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And John Goodman, I don't think we've mentioned him officially. He's amazing.
Right.
And such a great foil to David Spade.
Yeah.
Oh, they're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an underrated voice actor because he does a great job in this, and he does a great job in the Monsters Incorporated and as Sully, and he does a good job as voice actor. I think.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
He's great.
And it's nice that this is just a straight friendship movie. There's no romance. I mean, aside from him being married, but no real like romance. It's just a story about friendship.
Buddy movie. Yeah.
Buddy movie. Yeah. Which I like. And so they strike this kind of unlikely alliance to have to work together to get back.
I pulled this one thing from one of the things I'd been reading about the whole debacle of making this movie. And I just thought it was so funny. So by 1999, the epic Incan mythological adventure romance musical about a llama herder and a prince changing places while a I can't even say this word. Megalo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
A crazy priestess. Thank you. But megalomaniacal. That's why I can't say it because there's the end, the maniacal. Anyway, Priestess attempts to plunge the world into darkness had become a goofy, irreverent buddy comedy being written by probably the funniest writer's room you could possibly have. And I thought that was such a great summary of
that sums it all up, doesn't it?
The whole progress of this started as a romance musical, with a llama, and then with the priest. It changed the right components, I think, and it turned into such a great film. And I'm sorry to sting, but it's just so good.
Yeah. And we also have to remember, they say at the beginning that Cusco is barely 18, so he's young.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can forgive some degree of unlikability because teenagers, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's a tough time.
Has Owen Wilson ever talked about this? Do you know?
Owen Wilson?
Yeah, he was supposed to be Pacha at the beginning.
Yeah, was he?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were going to be the prince and the pauper, and he was going to be basically the lookalike to Cusco, but Cusco's name was different, and so they were going to switch places, and it was very complicated.
And it was always David Spade, wasn't it?
Yeah, always. Yeah, it was always David Spade, and then it was supposed to be him and Owen Wilson, and then Owen Wilson was unceremoniously just cut out.
Yeah.
They made it up to him being
with
in
Cars.
Yeah, with
with Cars.
the whole franchise.
That's true. True.
But yeah, and then you have that.
I haven't heard anything about that. Yeah.
You have that scene with the squirrel, the cute little squirrel with the pin.
Oh my goodness.
Which is pretty funny.
That is just my favorite.
Yeah.
I guess one of the many.
Right. It's so good.
And they have this whole sequence, which is very kind of Warner Brothers and feel, Looney Tunes and feel, where they get stuck on this tree and it keeps falling and falling and falling and falling. And just that whole sequence is, I thought, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it ends in with Pacha giving Cusco CPR. And he says, it's not a kiss.
It's so gross.
That's so well done. It's so funny.
Yeah. So then Yzma is taking over ruling the kingdom. And I just love the joke that that if he comes back, that would be awkward, especially after that lovely eulogy.
Well, and speaking of animation, again, I know I alluded to this earlier, but I love all of the animation. I think particularly though, I'm fascinated by the way they animate the palace, just with those big, those gigantic rooms and those. Like that chair, the throne that's like 3 stories on this 3-story platform or something. And then all the cool backgrounds. And when Yzma takes over, how they are like stenciling her, iconography all over the place. Anyway, that's another one of the things I think is so great.
I love when she's presiding over it and the person's coming up and she's like, it's no concern of mine whether or not your family has, what was it again? It's like, food?
Food!
You really should have thought of that before you became peasants.
Yes.
And she delivers it so well. It's so funny and so tragic at the same time. It's just brilliantly done. I love that. It's so...
I do too.
Food?
It just makes me realize how much I miss villains.
Well, and voice acting in general. I think, Rachel, you and I have talked about that before.
Yeah.
Watching like Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and all those older movies with just the official voice actors that weren't talent before they were voice actors. They were just voice actors. Mm-hmm. And there's just such a different quality. And I think that's one of the things that comes really in strong in this movie.
Yeah.
Is that the voice acting is just spotless. So
yeah,
good.
I mean, and Eartha Kitt, she's a legend. She's
amazing.
Catwoman. And so she had that whole feel of a villain character, I think, really well done.
Yeah. I would like to see a documentary about just a day in the life of Eartha Kitt. I
know, right?
That would be good.
I mean, what an interesting person.
Yeah.
She's even on a couple episodes of The Nanny.
Oh, and Adam West was in it originally. Side note. Did you know that?
He was?
Yes, he was like a villager in one of the earlier things, and he had some hilarious line that I won't even try to tell you now because I'll botch it, but he was in it, and I was sad that he was gone as well, even though I never saw that. So I don't really have a strong sentimentality. It's just Adam West. How can you cut Adam West? We have Eartha Kitt and Adam West. Don't mess with it. Leave it alone.
Seriously. Wow.
So Cusco leaves Pacha on the rope bridge, and he says it was all a lie, and he says we shook hands on it. So there's this sort of theme of what does a handshake mean
if you don't have any hands.
And then that's when they get stuck in the crevice together, and they have to walk up the crevice together, and work together.
Yeah.
So that's a good sequence.
That's an outstanding sequence.
And
it's so clever.
Yeah.
So funny.
Who thought that one up?
And then the next parts have some Kronk is just so funny. The exotic bird bingo. I love that joke.
Oh, we missed his theme song. His theme song was so brilliant.
And they have the Kronk Junior Chipmunk
Yes.
versed in all woodland creatures.
Squeak, squeaker. Squeak,
Yeah.
Squeak and squeak, squeak.
And then I just absolutely love this whole diner sequence. I think it is so well done.
It really is.
So well orchestrated. And
the timing of the menus coming up and down so that they don't see each other.
Oh, my stars. And
going
then,
around that door.
they're all going in barking orders at the chef.
Yeah. And Kronk saying, I know you from somewhere. I know you from somewhere. Miss Narca's interpretive dance 2 semesters. I had weak ankles.
Of course he did.
And then he starts cooking. And you get all the diner talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
my stars.
And of course he knew all of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was part of the Junior Woodchuck stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And he finds out it's Yzma's birthday. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. And
Such a wholesome character. Like, to be like a henchman, essentially. He's just so charming.
Yeah. He is probably my favorite character. He's one of the best side characters, I think, ever in Disney. He's so funny.
Absolutely. I mean, everything from the spinach puffs. I mean, that to, and everything. Yeah, the whole thing. For Kronk.
Yeah.
Just owns it.
I mean, I'm trying to think of any that even comes close, like villain side characters. And I mean, I'm sure I guess you have the hyenas maybe in Lion King. I don't know. I mean, I can't even, I guess LeFou. There's a few that are fun, but I can't think of any that are as good as Kronk.
I think this is probably unique to this movie as well, because it's almost 50-50 split between the villains and the protagonists. Like, it's
it's true.
It's the weight of the movie is carried pretty equally between those two, and it's just kind of a back and forth until they're finally brought together. And that's pretty unusual.
Mm-hmm. I guess like Smee maybe and Peter Pan. I'm just trying to think of other villain side characters. But this is where Kuzco hears Yzma and Kronk talking about killing him, and he realizes that he doesn't have as many friends as he thought he had, and so he's left alone in the rain. So this is where we had flashbacked earlier.
Yeah, that's where we had met him at the first of the film. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then his narration argues with himself, which I thought was so funny and clever.
I like that too. Yes.
He's the bad Kuzco is trying to, basically this is unfair. I'm being treated unfairly, and then real Kuzco's like, they saw what happened. Like, just cut it out. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was such an interesting way to kind of close that loop.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. Kind of that transition into the third act.
Mm-hmm.
Where that really unique. Yeah.
Well, and that's where we start to see the real character growth, because now he's been humbled, and he finds Pacha back with the llamas, and Pacha's he's a lousy llama.
Don't you love? I mean, I love how forgiving Pacha is.
Yeah.
I just, that just shows, and again, how expertly that's done just through, through the dialogue and the great animation. That scene just again solidifies. It's kind of like the tender moment, but that doesn't overstay its welcome.
Doesn't he say something like, Kuzco asks him, "Why would you take me when I've already betrayed you," or whatever? And he said, "Maybe you'll change your mind on the way." Like,
yeah,
just
and
so
he shook hands on it,
and wholesome and just hopeful. I don't know. He's just a solid character.
I also do love when Kronk and Yzma are at Pacha's house.
Oh my gosh. I was just going to bring that up, Rach. Because that whole scene is so brilliant. And don't you love, I mean, I just love how everybody takes down Yzma. The little kids, are just so gleeful about it all. Oh, I just love it.
I like the little girl with those pigtails. The way they have them, it's really cute.
Yeah, those kids are adorable.
Yeah,
they were great. The wiggly tooth.
Yeah,
and I can't find it right this second, but I think there was a crossover with ESPN and the Double Dutch Championships or something, and so they asked them if they could put that into the movie? And they're like, sure. Like, of course we can. And then they're like, how are we going to get that into the movie? And they're like, have you seen this movie? Like, we can do anything we want with this movie. Anything will fly. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I've never heard
that.
like, hey, we're doing an ESPN crossover with World Jump Roping Championship. Could you just...
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's where I was going. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. With this jump rope. And then you have this whole sequence when they arrive, and there's the vials that are getting bumped all around and moving all around, and everybody's changing. And I love when she gets turned into a cat.
She does that wicked laugh, and it's so
my voice. My voice.
That kind of reminds me a little bit of Sorcerer in the Stone when they're doing that wizard battle, and they're just switching shapes left and right, and it's got that kind of iconic feel to it where they're just here, drink this.
True.
And then this one just is mayhem too, which
I love the shot where they zoom in and it looks like he's a big bird, and then they zoom out and he's this teeny tiny bird. Useless.
Well, but my favorite is when she's
go ahead,
a
cat.
Ray,
sorry.
No, just my favorite is that. My voice. My voice.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Hands down.
Yeah.
And how you think she's going to be just this giant. Like, she's turning into, like, Maleficent's dragon kind of thing,
Yeah.
And then it's the kitten.
It's kind of similar to the Wizard's Duel in Sword and Stone.
Yeah. Just like, Jennifer saying,
which is the best part probably of that movie.
Yes.
But it's really fun, and the music and just everything. It's a very enjoyable kind of slapsticky sequence. And
I love the build up to it. Sorry, just to jump back a little bit. Where they've got the map.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes.
And that, the really delightful score that John Debney wrote for that, and then just that whole thing.
And there's that dialogue that just seals the deal, and it's like, how did we get here before you? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But
he pulls the map down.
Yeah.
Like it's a classroom or something.
Oh my goodness. That was brilliant.
Oh, so funny. So funny.
Yeah. I really like it too. And then Cusco decides to build his Cuscotopia somewhere else. And he says, ain't got nothing if you don't have friends. And then it ends with Kronk teaching Squirrel to the chipmunks.
Squeakity squeak, squeak him. Oh,
and Yzma remains in kitten form.
Yzma's still a kitty. That's so great.
Well, we have some great comments from our Twitter. So let me read them. Matthew Klein, he says, I believe Atlantis, Lilo, and Stitch, Treasure Planet, or even Dinosaur were superior to New Groove in terms of story, better developed characters, etc. Still, there's no denying that New Groove is funny, quotable, and has likable characters, protagonists, and villains alike. So that's interesting. Richard Southworth, he says, standard Disney fare, good fun. The villains are the highlight. TV Travis says, fantastic. It's fun, well-paced, great voice work. The original concept sounded interesting, but I really liked the final results. One of my personal favorite Disney films. It's just fun. Cameron Ward says, love this movie, and while I would have loved to have seen the original concept, this is Disney's funniest movie.
And these, I have to thank them and others like them, because they're the ones that sent me into the rabbit hole. I just went into Google.
Nostalgia Cast says, the Walt Disney equivalent of a Looney Tunes cartoon full of laugh-out-loud, irreverent humor, but almost none of the visual splendor we associate with the rest of the Renaissance. So this would be solidly post-Renaissance, I think, but... Zach Hugg says, an easy favorite. You can sort of tell the whole process of making it was a mess and they had to keep starting over, but then they figured it out and stuck the landing. Plus Eartha Kitt in multiple quote-worthy gags over and over again. Josh Turnbell says, it's one of my favorites. I appreciate it more seeing it as an adult than I did watching it on VHS when I was 14. And Jacob Martin says, one of my childhood favorites and a contender for one of the funniest animated Disney movies. Yzma and Kronk especially steal the show. So there we go. That is some of our Twitter comments. And make sure you're following us at Disney Talking so that you can participate in our Twitter chats and other fun stuff we have going on. So yeah, this one's really fun. In my last ranking, I had it at 25, and I had Big Hero 6 at 26, and I had Bambi at 24. So that's one of the hard things about ranking the Disney canon is
so
because,
hard.
I mean, how can you compare Bambi and Emperor's New Groove? They're totally different.
I have it at 28.
Okay, so pretty close.
And it was hard just because, you know, I love it so much. And I think being at that point, it sounds like I don't love it, but I do. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's obvious. I don't think you need to defend yourself. Anyone who's listened this long knows.
Yeah, it's going to be fun once we are finished and we do. I mean, I'm at least going to do a whole nother ranking.
Do another ranking.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite it'll be switched around because it's really hard. Really, my top 30 I kind of like about all the same, but for different reasons, and so. You know, how do you decide? It's hard. But anyway, that was my last one. And for our next episode, the random number generator gave us Alice in Wonderland. We're going to be talking about that film. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The original Disney animated classic, of course, from I think 1951. So yeah.
I was holding out for Chicken Little.
We'll let you know. We'll call you.
Yes.
I just thought that'd be so poetic for you to be like, it hasn't given it to us yet. Oh,
exactly.
It'll be coming soon. It has to eventually. I feel like I'm not going to allow it to be the last episode because that would just be depressing.
It's a downer.
But thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming
Jennifer,
and doing this.
Thank you.
This was
thank
really
y'all
fun.
For having me. It was way too much fun.
Yeah. So, Stanford, how can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
And Jennifer, you want to share your Twitter or your social media?
Sure. I'm on Twitter at PB and Jedi, and I frequently post alongside with Sean. I don't do any of the official channel stuff usually, but he's Kirk Never Die.
Great.
So you can normally find me there or at mine.
Yeah, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Please check that out. And again, make sure you're following Disney Talking on Twitter. And also, if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, to Rachel's Reviews. We really appreciate that as well. And we also have our Patreon group, which is a lot of fun, and you get tons of opportunities. And we just had Lacey Chabert on our live watch along, which was pretty epic.
No way.
Yes. So only $2 a month to join. You can't go wrong. It's really fun. Please take a look. And then we also have our merch store, which has tons of fun designs, a lot of them with original characters designed by artists like Jessica Miller. And so it's pretty fun. Please check it out. The information all in the description. So thanks again, Jennifer, and we will be ready for Alice in Wonderland next month.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.